What's going on, everyone? Zane here with Everything Vive. Want to welcome you back for another episode. In today's episode, we have some awesome, hilarious guests on for an interview. They are Jeff Rensvold and Gabe Brown from BigBox VR, the team that brought us all Smashbox Arena. And if you haven't tried this game yet, you got to get it. And actually, before we even go any further, I know some of you are tuning in to get the details for the Steam Key giveaway because, yes, we are giving 10 free copies of the game. And that is thanks to the awesome guys over there, the awesome team at BigBox VR, allowing us to share these with you. And so, yeah, I mean, the interview is just awesome. I mean, we talked for so long, and the conversation could have gone even longer. It was really hard to hit the stop record button. And yeah, I mean, so much fun. Like, it's really cool to see how they develop the game. And I'm going to stop rambling on because we're obviously going to do that once we get into the interview. But just to let you know about the Steam Key giveaway and the details for that, all you got to do to enter is go to YouTube. If you are listening to this episode on YouTube, then you're fine. But for all those listening on iTunes, Stitcher, or somewhere else, these episodes are also posted on YouTube. So this will be episode 41. You just got to go to YouTube, search Everything Vive, episode 41. Make sure it is this one with our interview with the Smashbox Arena fellas. And just leave us a comment. Let us know what you thought of the review. Let us know what you love about Smashbox if you've played it, or why you're excited to potentially get it and, you know, win the contest, blah, 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 all that good stuff. And yeah, we will have 10 names drawn, and yeah, we'll try to do it by this Friday and announce the winners then. So make sure you sign up, make sure you enter, and yeah, with that, let's get started. Hey, what's up, guys? How's it going?
Oh, we're good.
Good. How you doing?
Doing fantastic. Zane here with Everything Vive. I'm with Ronnie. Ronnie, how's it going, man?
It's going well as well. Yeah. Very excited to be here with our guests today.
Yes,
if you want to introduce them.
Yeah. So we're with Jeff and Gabe from BigBox VR. I don't know if you guys want to go ahead and introduce yourselves as well.
Yeah, you
sure.
go ahead, Gabe.
Yeah, sure. My name's Gabe. Gabe Brown. I'm with BigBox VR. We started earlier about this year working on VR prototypes and worked on several different products, but ended up making this awesome game called Smashbox Arena.
Yeah,
Been doing that for.
We agree. It's really we'll get into that some more, but I just have to say it's some of the most fun that I've had in VR since I purchased my Vive, and there's, I mean, yeah, we'll get into more details later.
Let him finish his intro.
Go
We're
ahead,
definitely gonna have a lot of time to talk about this.
That's awesome. But yeah, so I've been working with it, and also had the incredible privilege to work with Jeff, and I'll let Jeff introduce himself too.
Yeah, so I'm Jeff Rensvold. I started some Vive prototyping back in January with my business partner, John, and we joined this project seriously in June. And it's been one of the most fantastic and frustrating and awesome things I've ever done. It's just like, it's so cool. I mean, like, every day I go to work, I learn something new about, game development or VR in general. And it's just fantastic to work with Gabe and Cha-Chin and the whole team, PM and John. They're all really great. Oh, and Warren, don't forget Warren. He scares me.
He'll cry.
He kills me all the time on the servers.
Yes, he does. He's good.
So leading off of that, what were your backgrounds prior to developing Smashbox? What were some of the things that you guys were working on before that?
Yeah, sure. So, prior to Smashbox, I worked at Disney Interactive working on products such as Avengers Alliance. And I was part of that studio for about 5 years originally as engineering manager and then the executive producer.
Okay.
And then also had various other startups that I've worked with in the past as well.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
And I actually kind of come from a sort of a really different background. It's probably interesting because I make all the levels in Smashbox, but I actually come from a construction background. I used to work for a company called Vulcan in Seattle.
Well, that's not that. It kind of. I mean, that's a logical transition, I guess, from building things into the real world to building things in virtual reality.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, I used to do these huge construction projects, and I just wasn't satisfied in it, and I found myself here just through luck and hard work, I think.
Huh. Yeah. How did you connect with the other team members? How did did you develop stuff on your own first, like in terms of like generate assets or something like that, or was working with the team at Smashbox your first experience working on game development?
Well, working with Smashbox is probably my first experience in serious game development. I have a friend and colleague that I started this company with, and he actually knows Cha Chin, who you guys know from Reddit.
Yes.
And they worked at Valve together. And so John and I were doing sort of our prototype stuff, and we had a space in Capitol Hill, Washington. And Cha Chin and John were talking, and John comes in one day and he's like, "Hey, I know these guys, and they're making this really cool game, but they don't really have a space. They're all working out of their basement. You mind if they come in and work in the office?" I'm like, hell, I don't care. I mean, we have like so much square footage, right? And so we went from us kind of doing our own thing and us bouncing ideas off each other to like, oh, you know what? We need to put this together, and we need to do it for real. And that's exactly what we did. And so Gabe, Cha Chin, and John just sort of got together, worked out the pertinence, and here we are today.
Wow, that's really awesome. Actually, I guess I'm more curious. Like, where did the idea for actual gameplay and design and stuff like that come from? And how was that like as part of the process of development?
Yeah, so I'll chime in here. When Cha-Chin and I were originally messing around with the first dev kit, I think we got our first dev kit back of August of 2015. And it was the very first developer prototype, and that thing was really buggy. It was very difficult to get working. But
just to clarify, that was a Vive dev kit at the time, right?
That's a Vive dev kit. Yep.
Okay.
But we were able to get one controller working and the headset and one base station working, and that was enough to limp along. We're like, okay, well, we can't really develop with this, but we played all the demos. And I took it home for Christmas because my brother is just absolute awesome with electronics, and we got some spray paint and some duct tape, and we actually fixed the other base station.
Wow. That's awesome.
And got it working. And then when I started using it, I was like, holy crap, this is amazing. And I was immediately sold on what the Vive could do in terms of making you feel like.
What were those early dev kits like? Because I mean, at the time, I guess I probably had an Oculus DK1, but I never got a chance to actually try any of the early versions of the Vive. What was it like?
Yeah. So the earlier versions of the Vive, from a physical hardware, just touching it feels very unfinished because the sensors are visible. You can see the sensors on the inside. It's not as smooth or comfortable. The resolution of the display isn't as good, and the controllers are. They nickname affectionately the sombrero because it looks like a sombrero. And I actually went to the developer Steam Dev Days, and they told me, it's like, keep that thing. It's going to be a collector's item in about 5 years. So I've got it locked up safely.
But awesome.
But yeah, so we ended up playing over at my brother's house, and when I flew back, I told Cha-Chin, dude, you have to try this. So we ordered another dev kit to get that one fixed, and he tried it out, and he's like, holy crap, this is amazing. We have to try this. So we started prototyping, and I was like, what do we work with? And I talked to my brother, and he said, man, I really want to play Jenga with giant cannonball hands. I was like, that sounds pretty awesome. So
that was his first thought when he tried it, right?
Yeah, exactly. I won't deny if there's any alcohol involved with this brainstorming. But yeah, so we tried this, like, yeah, that sounds awesome. So we pulled out Unity, and I started prototyping with some stuff, and I gave him the controller and I said, here, try this. And he just started shooting. He's like, wow, this is really fun. It's like, it'd be awesome if you could shoot the cannonball. I was like, well, give me a minute or two. And we got it. So you're shooting cannonballs with these giant blocks. And I was like, wow, this is really awesome. I really want to shoot cannonballs at you. So I was like, well, I think I can make that happen. So fast forward a little bit, we started experimenting. I had it over at my house, and he had a Vive at his house. And now we're shooting cannonballs at each other. And we're like, wow, this is even better. What if there's giant boulder balls and grenades? And And fast forward, that's when we bumped into Jeff and John, and they both said, "Hey, these guys are working on their houses and they're making a game." And so that's how that. Once it started reaching that point where I was like, "Hey, this feels like we're on to something here. This is really fun." That's where we had the good fortune to work with John and Jeff.
Yeah, it felt really real to us. I mean, it's like John and I were just like, yeah, we don't want to take over this product. We want to be, a part of this team, and we've integrated so well. It's just like,
yeah,
it doesn't feel like two different companies. It's like, it feels like one company, and it's awesome.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
But yeah.
How did just in terms of it's really neat that the game kind of evolved organically as you guys were implementing new ideas and everything and just kind of messing around. When did kind of the level of polish, because that's one of the things that I noticed when I first started playing the game was that kind of separates Smashbox from a lot of the other games out there is the game feels polished and also looks very polished. So the artwork is very nice, and it's very like I said, everything has a very good, like a very a refined style, I guess I would say.
I think it's when we brought on our artist. I think who was our first? Was it PM? Was our first artist? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this kid is just fantastic. You tell him what you want, and he almost nails it every time. And you might have to tweak things here and there, but that's when for me, the polish started to get there. And then once we got in geometry and assets that were truly ours, and I think that just kind of propelled the team. And okay, let's make it better. Let's make it better. Let's make it better, because we all felt like an ownership of it.
Oh yeah, and in addition to the art too, the one thing that we did, I think, stands out as vastly different from what you'll see from a lot of games out there, and probably contributes to the overall polish and the aesthetic and the styling and the feeling that Smashbox gives you when you play it, is Jeff was awesome at coordinating playtest every week. So every week on a Friday for 3-4 months, I would say, we had 6 players come in, and we would say, "Hey guys, you're going to play a game," and we gave them a description that's now on our Steam page and said, "This is the game you're going to play." We put them through a tutorial, and then they play 6 matches with each other, and then we sit down and interview them afterwards about their experience. And we always ask the standard net promoter score, how likely are you to recommend us to your friend? And that's a universal measure of like how good is a game. And we first started out, we were getting 7s really.
Yeah, 7s.
And if you're not familiar with net promoter score, anything up to an 8, a 7 or an 8 is like neutral, meaning it's like I don't like it, but I don't hate it.
Gotcha. Okay.
And a 9 or a 10 is like I love it. I'm going to tell mom to go play this right now. So, and anything below 5 is not good. So,
and what's really funny is that initially when we were doing this, especially when we just started beta testing, and we went from like a 7 to like an 8, and then like an 8.5, and then a 9, and then a 9.3, and then back down to an 8.5, and then up and down. At first we're like, well, are these people just fascinated at the fact that it's VR, or do they actually like the game? And so we released this game. We thought we had a really good product, but we didn't. It's so humbling how the community has embraced us. It's like, we didn't know that you guys would like it this much. And it's just like, man, yay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, because there's just something, I know you talked mostly about, and I brought it up as well that way, the kind of the aesthetic polish, but talk about, I guess, the polish in terms of the game mechanics. I think there's something that feels really great about everything that you do in this game. From picking up the balls, you feel satisfaction when you can kind of, like when you see the little green highlight on the ball from far away, and you're able to just magnetically kind of suck it in, all the way to holding it and blocking with the ball, to when you're firing at other players, and then when you're getting the power ups. Just everything you do feels like you guys really honed it in, and even stuff like teleportation, which is in a lot of games at this point. But I thought it was really interesting the way you guys implemented it to be more of a strategic element. Like you added the the way in which the marker really, like, I think more solidly than any other game, really shows you while you're in a match where a player is going to be located next. And then at the same time, it kind of limits the speed at which players can go back and forth through the map. So if someone's getting too frantic, for example, and they try to teleport multiple times before the marker lands on the floor, it kind of disrupts their movement and that sort of thing. Like all of those things. Yeah. And I mean, everything you're doing in the game, to me anyways, from the outside, it looks like there was so much time and effort and revisions to make sure you got it right. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about...
There really was. I mean, we tested the crap out of teleportation. I mean...
Oh, yeah.
We would change how fast you could teleport in almost every playtest. Yeah. And I think we quit doing it about the third to last one, I think, is when we felt like we had it kind of nailed.
Huh. Yeah. Yeah, if you're a programming nerd, we did binary search for teleporting type. Okay. That way you could only have to change it 8 times.
No, I mean, Ronnie kind of nailed it right on the head there. I mean, I think that's actually one of the biggest strengths of the game in terms of like the multiplayer aspect of it is the teleportation, because I at least I've seen that on a lot of the reviews, on a lot of the positive comments that I've seen on Reddit, Steam, places like that. And so, yeah, I mean, just to kind of echo his sentiment, it adds such a tactical element to the game that I think really just adds to the overall feel of how it comes through and how the game is played.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, there's total pro moves too. It's like, you throw a teleport marker, you let it almost go, and then you go a different direction. And man, I get nailed by that all the time.
Yeah, because then players try to get closer to that spot, and then they're like just a blank target, like right.
Oh
where,
yeah.
No, that's really actually a really good point. I mean, there's just so many cool things about how it's done, and like I said, and those are all things that I think in other games that are similar or they had the potential to get there, but it's just, like they're just not developed in those. And another thing that I kind of liked about it, and I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more, the various power-up types. So, I mean, you talked a little bit about how some of the fun, the fun nature of you guys kind of messing around led to some of them. But were you trying to, like, as you got more serious about the multiplayer aspects, was there any kind of balancing that went into developing some of those weapons, or kind of what do you guys looking forward at the game? What do you guys intend to do as far as like balancing of those kind of things go?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start, Jeff, and feel free to hop in anywhere. But when we first came up with these power-ups, the first thing that we immediately were gravitated to is we need to do something that you cannot do in a regular shooter. That this is a golden opportunity to play with scale and play with accuracy and play with things that make you feel like you're there. And so some of the things that really cement that was the boulder ball, which we first started was actually 5 stories tall, and it was a giant asteroid that came out in the middle of the world and smushed everything in there. And we're like, the problem was it gave me a heart attack every time it happened, because it just feels like it's there, and it feels like it's going to smush you at just any moment. And then the same thing with a sniper ball, which is like having that scope, and using a scope like that is very VR. It feels like it's in your hand. It feels intuitive. Fireball, the grenade, the heat seekers, those things. But I mean, that was our original impetus, is like, let's really focus in on those, making you feel powerful. And also, more importantly, this thing that we kind of discovered when we were playing with Jeff, and Jeff can feel free to chime in on this, but it's like the unexpected natures that occurs as a result of those power-ups, like create these interesting or funny moments that you completely don't expect. Like, and because it's physics-based, you get them. It's like on space...
It was like the end of the development cycle. I think we were releasing the next day, and we were shooting a video, and it was PM and I, and it was like mano a mano, last 2 guys standing. We both grabbed a sniper rifle. We both shot, and our bullets bounced off each other, and we just kind of stopped. We're like, "Oh crap! It can do that!" We're like, yeah, it's physics based. You know?
It's so cool. So who drew next? Like who was the person that realized? first.
PM always beats me.
Yeah, it is good.
But I just want to say, the cool thing I like about our power-ups is just the fact that everything is actually blockable. Like someone tosses a boulder ball at you, well, it's not going to expand until it hits the ground. So if you have a ball in your hand, you can bounce it away, and you can change the trajectory, and you're going to live. And not only you can live, you can step out of the way of it. You know?
Yeah,
That's so cool. No, and that's one of the things. I mean, I think those like, you know, in general, physics. I mean, I always appreciate when physics are well done in games because it makes, you know, the environment feel much more realistic and everything like that. But in virtual reality, where you start kind of putting real world expectations into what you're playing, I think subtle things like those types of interactions really makes a big difference in terms of immersion and in terms of you feeling like that real sense of presence. Because a lot of those things happen subconsciously. You may not even necessarily intend to block something, but if your Vive controller happens to be in the right spot and you're holding a ball and it hits you and you realize it reflected like that, it just makes you really feel like everything's real and tangible.
No, it happened to me today. It's like I was playing when I got home from work. I teleported someplace. I did a 180 right when a guy shot a ball. I didn't even know he was there, but I deflected it, and then I killed him, and I felt very satisfied with that. It's just like,
yeah, because it was fair, right? Like that, everything was working the way it was supposed to, and so what if you lucked out? Like that's part of
it happens.
It's part of how it works.
Yeah, and half of it's a terrific testament to the Vive and the Oculus Touch as the natural input of having a controller in your hand is saying, oh, I need to block that. And you're not like, oh shit, what key is that thing?
Yeah.
You just lift your hand and stick instinctively. And you've got 20 years of experience playing a game by the time you put it on for the first time.
It kind of makes you feel superhuman in a sense because it takes you have some of those teleporting and like fast twitch capabilities and you're able to move around and do things that you might not even be able to in the real world.
Well, just being able to translate, you know, what the type of movements that you have in the real world, and then being able to put those abilities in enhanced abilities that you get in VR on top of that, like you said, that does give it that superhuman feel to it, which is cool.
And I'd have to say it's actually really, really cool to hear you guys excited about the game as everybody that's out there playing it, because. Yeah. Because I think that's probably a testament to what you guys have built, that it's just that fun. But
we actually did have this much fun building the game. I mean, that's not a joke. It's like, you know, we were testing the people below us. I mean, I feel bad for them, but we're jumping up and down, we're screaming and we're cursing at each other and yeah, we literally had as much fun developing it as we're having playing it.
Yeah, high smiles per hour.
Yeah,
it's a good metric to go by. No, I mean honestly, the amount of positive feedback that we've seen online on Reddit and just everywhere has been fantastic, and it's funny because I mean you guys came out. I want to say, well, basically the first time I heard about the game was on a Reddit post. And it was a Reddit post complaining about the drama of another game's release, which we shall not name here, and that getting too much attention on Reddit. And you know, this game kind of being covered up in terms of how awesome it is, and so like that caught my attention. Quickly checked it out, and then as soon as I played it, I was just like, yes, this is absolutely what people should be focusing on right now, because it is. What's great about it is the multiplayer aspect, and I haven't seen something. You know, there's very few multiplayer games out there, and I'm gonna name drop Rec Room and Onward as probably the top two that people can really like build that type of community around. And I feel like Smashbox Arena is the next one on that list. And that's not in any particular order. That's just saying like, you know, it's out now, and playing it, especially in the multiplayer space for it, you know, it's just awesome being able to connect with all these different people. And I know you guys play regularly with the group as well. I don't think Ronnie and I have had a chance to catch that yet. But I mean, it's been really cool to see that community grow and see how quickly people have come about to the game. So I don't know. I mean, I guess that's not really a question, but just more so a testament to show how awesome the game is and how much we love it so far.
We really did kind of come out of nowhere. I mean, we were a really quiet dev group. And then here we were, and hi.
Yeah, Yeah, we kind of came out during a hurricane.
So going along those same lines, did that kind of unexpected success change the directory of any of directory? Did it change the trajectory of any of the plans that you guys had previously? I mean, I can imagine. I mean, you obviously were hopeful that you were going to get, the community's attention and have people, get really involved in the multiplayer. But now that you see how many people are into it, does that change your focus? Do you start focusing more on catering to players that are really into it, or do you stick with trying to bring more people to the table, or kind of how have your plans changed since the game came out?
I would say our priorities have changed in the last week and a half, Gabe, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of just all speed ahead. Yeah. We've ever since we've launched, there's two things that are really important to us, which is one, retention, making sure people are playing the game a lot, and that they enjoy it. Because this, whenever we're looking at games from social games and things of that sort, it's like, how long are they playing the game? Are they enjoying it? And that's generally a good indicator. And let me look at my notes here, but I think it was like, let's see here. Anyways, I'll pull up some stats here in a little bit, but people are playing quite a bit. Average person's played 122 minutes, which is a lot for a VR game. If you look at different games out there, you might see it somewhere around like 15 to 20 minutes for the average VR title. And so that's a big piece of what we've been really focusing on, is like making sure it's fun to play for a long time. But so that, and also more importantly, adding in new things that would keep people engaged. So like Jeff's been working hard on a new map that we're up and coming to release, that we just had the community name. And what's the name, Jeff?
It was Hard Hat, and UEAK Crash was the guy that actually named that. He's a YouTuber. I didn't know it was him till I was talking to him. He's like, "Oh, hey man, did you get my map submissions?" Like, well, which ones are yours? He's like, "Oh, well, I gave in these," and I was like, "Oh yeah, guess what? That was you." Yes, you named the new map, and I can send you a link to his channel because that guy's pretty awesome.
Yeah, please do. Yeah. We can mention it in the comments to the video.
Yeah, but I think the biggest one is just making sure people are enjoying and they're playing the game and they're having a good experience. Expand the content that we've already got there, which we're working on. And the other big one is to grow the community more. When you come out week one, it's never like, okay, that's it. That's all the users are over. It's always how can we get to reach more players, reach more people? And adding the Oculus Touch support last week was a big effort towards trying to grow the community and making sure that everyone that has a VR headset has a great experience.
Yeah, that's actually it's good that you mentioned the Oculus Touch again, because I was actually, as you were talking about expanding the user base, what was it like for you guys to kind of broaden, at what point during your development did you really plan on bringing the title over to the Oculus Touch, and did that create any challenges in terms of what you were able to do on the Vive side of things, or was it pretty easy to incorporate? Because there are some differences in terms of what the average Oculus Touch setup does tracking wise compared to the Vive. So I was just kind of curious if
we were testing the touches for quite a while, but we didn't really have the time to actually, like, I guess best way to give it a lot of attention until after the game released. And after the game released, it was like 4 or 5 days later, Gabe, that we knew exactly what we wanted to do, and we got the artwork in, and we've been getting feedback because we've actually had a lot of Oculus beta testers in the closed beta or the private beta, or whatever the hell you want to call it. And, we get feedback from them, and they really helped us understand, what the Oculus users want. We're still getting feedback from those guys too. And it's like, okay, yeah, great. We can fix that. And then we do.
Yeah. And yeah, from a mechanic standpoint, I think the only major change that we really did was, for those that don't have an Oculus, that they have that forward-facing cameras, you can only pretty much effectively look 200 degrees before you lose tracking. If you turn around, your hands will mysteriously start floating off in the distance, which is a little unsettling. But But yeah, so the thumb button, you can flick it left or right, and that will rotate your play area about 30-something degrees. So that way, while you're playing, you can have this option to still turn around. So even though you don't have room scale tracking, you can still have fun, and you can still do it. And then for the Vive controllers, we turned it off for Vive, although depending on how the community responds, we may give them the ability to flick to rotate.
Yeah, because I was kind of curious how that affects the balancing of the game. If players in one version or the other have an advantage, or
it's honestly, I've been playing on the Touch for the last 2 weeks straight, and not having the difference is really room scale versus not room scale. You're more susceptible to people sneaking up behind you. So, pro tip: one of my favorite tricks is to teleport over someone's head right behind them, then turn around and shoot them in the back. And so Vive or the Oculus Touch users are more susceptible to that kind of attack. But I mean, it's a strategy game. If you know you're more susceptible to that type of attack, you're going to tend to place yourself where someone coming up behind you is less of an issue.
Yeah.
And so that's the interesting thing about the game is like there's so much strategy involved in terms of like how do you play this map, and it all depends on who you're playing against and how good they are. And so you always have to adapt your strategy. But for the most part, I don't feel terribly gimped by it. I feel like I can always compensate.
I mean, I think it's just what you're used to. I'm like, I suck at console gaming. I can't play the Xbox or PS4 worth of crap. But I sure as hell can use a keyboard and mouse, right? Mm-hmm. But I kind of grew up in the Vive when it came to VR, and it's just like, yep, that's what I do, and it feels like second nature. So I don't think an Oculus user is ever going to feel like he's gimped, because that's what they like.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And just we were focusing more, I guess, on the power ups. I didn't know if you guys wanted to talk about level design at all, since that is a huge part of the game, obviously.
Sure.
What kind has gone into some of your ideas behind the different levels? Are there any inspirations from other types of multiplayer games in terms of level design, or is VR just does VR just introduce a lot of new types of mechanics that make certain level designs better than others?
Yeah, actually, we thought about a lot of different things. Granted, we released 6 levels. I probably made 23 or 24, and probably 5 or 6 revisions of each. Just sort of experimenting what works and what doesn't work. And so if you take the level Catwalk, that's actually one of the first levels we ever did, and it's one that we experimented with the most. And eventually, we liked the fact that it was so fast and just so open, and we just wanted it to become like just sort of like the quick strike map. And so, we put it in, and then you take a look at a level like Spaced In, and, that level just evolved from this huge, enormous beast down to what we have today. And that one's actually faster than people realize. I mean, there's things I'd love to do in VR, but the problem is, especially in this game, eventually all your balls are going to be on the floor. So I can't have like multi-layer stuff. It makes it really difficult. I guess, there could be some ball recycling script or something that move balls around, but I don't think that's fun. I think you need to design the levels in such a way that I can turn around and maybe find a ball.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And just compliments to Jeff. Like, he's coming into this and just has awesome inspiration from different games that we've looked at, but it's just been really fun. And I kind of compare some of the level designs. Jeff kind of designed the levels, how they all play together and the different speeds, kind of like a high school prom, where it's like you have your fast song and everyone's dancing and jumping around. And there's the slow song, which is the map's a little bit slower and a little bit more strategic. I don't know. That's probably a terrible analogy, but I did it.
But I mean, I have to, the level Werft is probably the most personal to me. I was inspired by a Counter-Strike level. I don't remember which one it was. Old, like Modern Warfare, not Counter-Strike, but Modern Warfare level. I looked at it and I remember playing that level a lot and just sort of thinking about, man, I want to make a level like this in this game. And then I sort of did it. And then, I used to work when I was working construction, I worked actually in Europe a lot, and I used to work at this place called Voss, and so that whole level is like a shout out to all my German construction friends.
That's so cool.
And the cool thing about it is that like history wise, like Blum and Voss made the Bismarck, which the Allies sunk in World War II. You know, it's just like, and so I was able to actually incorporate like some of my favorite gameplay stuff into a really important part of my life, and that was really awesome.
That's really, really cool.
No, yeah. I mean, just all the levels have been very, very unique in terms of how, I guess, how you kind of like navigate and traverse and, you know, utilize the different advantages that they have. So, you know, kudos to you on that, and just the uniqueness so far in terms of what we've seen.
And one of the things I like that kind of brought a focus on, you know, lets users really kind of see what's going on in the map and kind of get a good strategy is ironically when they fail and they're out. And you know, some of the early times that I played the game, I would get out pretty quickly, and as soon as I got to that kind of God mode, kind of, you know, large scale outlook on the map, I thought that was such a good idea, because one of the coolest things in VR is when you can look down at something and feel like you're like looking over a playset that's sitting there right in front of you.
You're still there.
So how did that come about, and kind of what were some of your ideas for that view?
Yeah. So when we were just experimenting with a handful of power-ups, we came up with this idea of like, what if you could eat a mushroom and become Mario's, like Big Mario, but like massively powerful dude. So we had this power-up that was a mushroom, and if you picked up the crate, you became humongous and you had cannonball hands. Whoa. And so you could shoot cannonballs down at people on the map. And we did that, and it's like, if you weren't the guy that was huge, you just got annihilated over and over again. It's like, oh, this just sucks, because they could reach down, put the cannonball right next to your head and pull the trigger, and then you're dead. But we started thinking about it, and Cha Chen and Warren and I were all looking at it, and we're like, wow, this is a really fun way to watch the match. Like, what if I get knocked out rather than just sitting there? I could actually watch the match from above. And we're like, actually, that's a great idea. We put it in, and it's like, holy shit, this makes so much more sense.
Yeah.
And then
but don't forget about the time when you could do that and you could drop power ups to your buddies.
Yes, that's right. Yes. They had power-up hands. And so you could drop power-ups wherever you wanted and tell people where to go. But that was pretty OP. It was a little too much.
Yeah.
So it made it too powerful. So, but we nixed that, but kept the world and added the rotation, and it just made a huge difference. So
yeah, I mean, you can actually thank John for that, because I think before then we had you could just sort of rotate yourself around the map, but then John figured out how to move the world around you, and it totally changed the gameplay.
Yeah, put it on a lazy Susan so you could spin it around effectively.
You know, just hearing you guys talk about it, it really sounds like you guys could do just about anything you wanted in this game, and it was just a matter of kind of, you know, figuring out what worked and what didn't work. Because some of the ideas that you guys are throwing out, it's just so cool that you were able to implement so much and try things out and really experiment.
Yeah, well, I think I think it really comes down to like the DNA of our company is about, we walked into this not knowing anything about VR and telling ourselves like, we cannot go into this with assumptions about what's going to work and what's not going to work. And so the DNA of our company is really about, well, let's just try it. Let's see what happens. Like, it's Unity, it's C#, we can do it fast. And say whether it's level design with Jeff or whether it's features with us, like, we really approached it from this experimental mindset, and we can get it to the 60%, but it's up to, that's where the user testing comes in. It's like, if we can make it, it's fun, but they don't understand it, it doesn't work. It's dead. And so that's the mindset we have when we make games, and particularly with Smashbox. So that's otherwise we're going to fail walking into VR, because it's such a new platform. Nobody really knows what's the right way to do stuff yet. And that's throughout this experimentation is the only way you're going to really find out.
Yeah, when we were first starting out, I was like coming home, we're trying, we're doing all these sort of different things. I was coming home talking to my wife. She's like, "You hungry for dinner?" I'm like, "No, I feel motion sick still." It's like we we tried everything. Where it's just like I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm just not going to eat. I'm going to bed. I'll see you later." And I'm like, "Why the hell am I making a VR game?" She's like, "Oh, honey, you're all right." I'm like,
"Yeah, man. If we wanted to make a game, how many seconds until you could throw up?" I think
real easy.
We made a lot of games where you could throw up very fast.
If only that was a top seller, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, it'd be a viral video.
that's for sure. Well, in that vein, in terms of just, it's actually been really cool hearing about all the stuff that's been kind of nixed from the overall development. But looking forward, I'm curious to hear what the big picture is for Smashbox Arena. And I know before we pressed record, we were talking a little bit about this. I don't know if you guys want to elaborate a little bit more.
Yeah, Jeff, you want to give the big reveal?
Well, okay. So we're gonna release a new map this week, and it's called Hard Hat, as we've talked about. But we're also going to release a multiplayer demo, which allows maybe some of those on the fence people to play the game and make a decision.
Honestly, I think that's a great idea, because I think most people that try this game, if they were on the fence, as soon as they get the chance to actually play it and see what it's about, I think they're going to be very, very, very happy with the game.
Once you try it, like it sells itself right away. So,
but anyways, continue. I just wanted to put that in because I think it's very smart.
We have another map actually that's in the art department right now, and it's gonna be PM, our art department, whose name is PM, who's a senior in college, right, Gabe?
Yeah.
It's actually going to be sort of a different theme from anything that we've done so far. We're really excited about it. I have about another 3 or 4 maps in my back pocket, and we're here for the community. We're listening. We're on Reddit. We're on Twitter. And we want this to succeed as much as you guys. I mean, we see the same potential you do, and we're going to stick with it.
Yeah, and I mean, what we're really doing with the demo is just like you guys said. It's like give people a chance to try it. Mm-hmm. But what we're also doing, which I don't think any Vive game has done this yet. I don't think any VR game has ever done this before, where the paid world, where all the people who have paid for the game are going to be in the same lounge as the free users. Mm-hmm. And so, because we want people to ask the guys who are paid users, like, hey, is this really worth $23.99 for that's on sale right now, and eventually once it goes away? But we want those people to talk and be like, hey, tell them what they think it's worth, and whether they think it's a good deal, because we feel really confident in that in our product that we would want those interactions to occur. Yeah. And paid users can play with free users. Free users will be limited to a subset of the maps, but they'll at least get a taste of it. They'll get an opportunity to play with everybody else. And I think that's going to be something special that I don't think I don't think any VR game's done before.
Well, I mean, word of mouth marketing is the best and probably the only way to go, especially when it comes to VR. Like until you try it, until you hear like people's opinions that you respect and recommendations, and actually being able to try it also is a huge aspect of that. So being in there, and if you're going to see other players in there, of course they're going to be enjoying the game and tell you how awesome it is. And instead of it just being over a podcast or some audio format, you're there actually enjoying the game with them. I mean, it's a fantastic idea. I think Ronnie and I both agree on that.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should make 10 people who listen to this podcast really happy that don't have the game. You know what I
mean? We'd be very much happy to help you do that.
All right. Well, I think I'll do that.
All right. So, does that mean we'll be giving away 10 Steam keys then?
10 Steam keys, but they also work with Oculus, but not the Oculus Store.
So these will be available on Steam, and what we'll have you guys do is these episodes are also posted on YouTube as well. So if you guys are interested in getting a Steam key, just leave a comment on the YouTube version of this episode, and we will randomly draw 10 names. And guys, I mean, we can talk about this all day, and I mean, obviously we're talking with the big box fellas here, but like the game is gonna sell itself. You once you try it, I don't even know why I'm just going on. There'll be a demo soon. Just download the demo.
Zane had got the game before I had, so I hadn't gotten a chance to play it yet. I had just heard everybody talking about it, and as soon as Zane tried it, there's very few games where I will just get a text from him that doesn't really explain what Zane thinks of the game, but just tells me I have to go do something. And the text that I got was, Ronnie, you have to buy Smashbox.
I was like, non-negotiable. Buy it. So yeah, I mean, everyone that I've shown the game to so far, like it's been a hit, and like, you know, you can go online and look at all the forums to see that, but I mean, just being able to see it in the actual faces and reactions of people so far in my own living room, you know, people who come over and try it, it's easy, intuitive, easy to pick up. It's very intuitive, and it's just a lot of fun overall. You know, there's so many different types of experiences out on VR right now, but I feel like this just makes it easy to have a good time. And, you know, going back to what we were talking about earlier, when you said the average average time is like 122 minutes, if you go through and look at all the positive comments, I mean, you see people who are talking about the game and their gameplay, and they're measuring that in hours, and saying that I spent, you know, hours in this game, and you know, it's been fun. And so like, it's something that I feel like you said, it'll only continue to grow, especially as the community grows. So yeah, I mean, we're really excited about it.
That makes us really happy, man. I mean, we know that this game lives and dies by the community. We love our community. I love the fact that I can go on at any time. People are laughing, right? They're having a good time, and they're beating the crap out of me.
Yeah. And the other thing too, it's like when I go on, it's the other part too, is just the incredible exposure to the world. It's like, I was on yesterday, and it's like one guy's from Norway, Philadelphia, London, Australia, like France, Germany, like every country in the world. I was just thinking, it's like, holy shit, I feel like I'm standing next to this guy. Like, that's blows my mind. So it's incredible.
Yeah, no, I mean, couldn't agree more. And I mean, Jeff and you and I were talking about this a little bit over Reddit, but I don't know if we can maybe extend the discussion further.
Sure.
I mean, like I was saying before, I'm weird like this in terms of, let me just go back for a second. On Reddit, I had posted originally about, you know, trying to set up some type of tournament, whether it was like a World Cup format or knockout style tournament for, or, you know, round robin and knockout style tournament for the game, just because I think the multiplayer aspect has so much going for it, and being able to organize this in a way where people can get involved, have something to play for, even if it's just pride. But, you know, for me, like I said, I'm weird in the sense that I love setting up these like brackets and certain things, and to me, it's just a lot of fun to do something like that. And I know you jumped on the opportunity right away, and we're like, what can we do? So, I mean, that's definitely a discussion we can kind of go forward.
Well, you know, the day before release, we did a YouTuber tournament, and instead of, I mean, you know, we can't pick what team we're on at the moment. But it was like, okay, so what I did is I had a tournament where we played all 6 maps, and at the end of each session, I took a screenshot of their kills. And then the top tuber who had the most kills, right? They got 5 keys, 4, 3, 2, 1, etc., down to the bottom. And they loved it. I really want to eventually get Smashbox Arena to a point where it can be much more competitive in an esport without ruining our casual gameplay. And, you know, I think we'll get there. We just, you know, we're a small outfit and we're doing what we can, but it's on our radar. That's the best I can tell you at the moment. It's on our radar.
Well, you guys are definitely headed in the right direction, which is really exciting.
Yeah, and I mean, the gameplay mechanics already kind of, you know, introduce enough complexity there to let pro players kind of, you know, show their stuff while also letting, you know, new players to the game also feel comfortable. I mean, it almost seems like really the gameplay is already ready for it. Maybe just the infrastructure in terms of matchmaking and that sort of stuff is the only thing, really. But I don't know. I'm sure you guys have lots of ideas of what you would want to put into the game in order to kind of flesh out the competitive nature. But
I'm going to ask you guys a question. If you could add one power up to the game, what would you add?
Oh man, I got to think about that.
And don't say Jeff.
I know. So this is kind of I don't know how this would work as far as balancing goes, but some kind of a duplication item. So like an item that because kind of like what you were mentioning before, one of the things that kind of throws me off or kind of directs me or misdirects me the most is when you see like when you see someone trying to teleport to a certain location, you're really like honed in on seeing other players and kind of figuring out where they might be based on where you saw them last. So some kind of a power up that lets you.
Are you asking for a doppelganger?
Something like that, yeah. Something where you can. I don't know how it would work balancing wise, but it just seems like it would be pretty cool.
Yeah, like a holographic Jeff.
Exactly. And obviously you'd have to limit it somehow, but that could be a really fun way to just like freak people out and pop out when they least expect it.
Well, also, I mean, the thing is, like, the game itself is, I'm going to use a tactical as a word again, but like, if you were to use it in a way where you could, if you don't know where your enemy is, or if you're trying to go into an area where you don't have complete visibility, you can use that as a way where you throw it out as like a, your doppelganger power up.
And then you can see where people are shooting from.
Yeah, see where the shots are coming from. Or you can even confuse someone by throwing the doppelganger one side, teleporting to the other side, so that they're facing the wrong way when it happens, and maybe they would have shot all the bullets that they have or all the balls that they have, and you'll be in a prime position to take them out. So that's actually a pretty good idea. I'm gonna just piggyback off yours, Ronnie.
Cool.
But yeah, so.
Cool. Well, I mean, guys, if is there anything else? That's kind of what we had in mind, but I don't know if there's anything else in terms of stuff coming down the pipeline or things about the game that you wanted to share.
I think the only other big thing to share is I know a lot of people talk quite a bit about the multiplayer mode, but there actually is a single player mode in the game too that you can totally play. That goes through kind of some of the backstories. So as you play through single player, that's one of the ways that you can unlock heads is through single player multiplayer. And so you can unlock these different heads, and each time you play through single player, each story for each character's backstory can be revealed each time you beat each either on easy, medium, or hard.
And the characters are really funny, actually.
Yeah. Which one's your favorite?
Yeah, I mean, I was playing with the seal pup earlier, and I thought that was pretty hilarious. But
yeah,
my favorites are the Badgers. My least favorites are the Vrons and the.
It's me, Vron.
See, now Ronnie. Talking to you guys, I kind of see where some of the humor came from, because it's pretty.
Well, we're keeping all the fart jokes off the air, so you're good. But yeah, so I think that's the one place people should definitely check out, because I think something that a lot of players have been commenting about on Reddit is that the AI is quite capable, and especially for multiplayer, because we know that the VR install base isn't as big as consoles or regular PCs. Needing to be able to fill in for players as people come and go, and ejecting the AI as people come and go. I think something that's we did a lot of careful thought and consideration to make the AI good.
Yep.
But more importantly too, and you may not notice this, but it's happening behind the scenes, is depending on how good your team is and how good your opponent is, the AI's difficulty automatically increases or decreases to make sure that the match is fair.
Yeah.
So you might find more often than not, you guys are getting into tied situations if that's a full room or not. And so we do that to make sure that everyone always has a fair match, and that we don't see this tremendous imbalance, which is why you can't select your teams from the get-go.
Okay.
But that's just like Jeff was saying. Yeah. And so like Jeff said, we want to move towards that direction of like allowing the necessary things that you need for competitive play, such as like picking teams and things of that sort. And that's on our roadmap.
Okay,
but we can't destroy the social aspect of this game, because the social aspect of this game is so fun.
Yes, exactly. we want it to be a place that's fun and inviting and that you want to be, and it's just like going over to your friend's house when you're a little kid. That's kind of the feeling that we want you to have when you're going next door.
That's awesome. No, and just to piggyback on what you guys were saying about the AI, I mean, the social aspect, bar none, is the most fun part of the game, I think, in terms of just like, getting in there and playing with other people and having those, interesting and fun interactions. But I will say that as a consumer, it's really nice to have a product that you'll get value from, potentially months and years out, even if the community were to move on to maybe, your next title, for example, or something like that, somewhere, way down the line. Because I will say that there's a lot of multiplayer games out there that, are very vibrant at the beginning of the game's life, but then kind of trail off as people move on to the next game. And when I was looking into Smashbox, one of the things that, not only did it have a single player mode, but the fact that the AI was so strong, that even if you're playing at a time when a lot of people aren't on, you're going to be able to have a good time no matter what. So
yeah, I don't think that can really be overstated. Just because, I mean, the thing is, like what Ronnie was saying and what you guys were saying earlier in terms of the community and install base being very small. Like the fact that I can flip on this game, jump into multiplayer mode at any point in time, and know that I'm going to get the full experience of the game. Yeah, there might be there might be a couple of AI bots in there, but as I was actually saying to Ronnie on when we covered the game on our previous episode, just having one or two other people adds enough of a human element, and then being able to fill it out with the AI bots just helps so much. And like I said, it's something about like being able to just jump into the game at any point and not having to worry about like, oh, okay, will there be enough people online, or if there's not enough people, is it going to be like a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-2? Like the game is always just exactly what it is, and there's a huge appreciation for that, I think, which people may not realize initially, but I think as they start to compare it with the other multiplayer experiences out there, it's definitely going to set itself apart.
And the other thing I've noticed, and it's quite surprising, is that you're like, so I'll jump into a match that maybe has 2 or 3 guys into it, right? Within a couple rounds, that room is full.
Yep.
And I don't have bots anymore.
Yep.
And maybe someone drops out, but the new person comes in.
Yeah, and just the fact that, I mean, making the game fun enough for those people to stay at the beginning while you're waiting for people, I think is all that's really needed. Because in some other in games that wouldn't have AI, for example, some people might decide to quit out and play something else a few minutes in because not enough people were joining, and when if they would have just hung around for another 5-10 minutes, you'd have a full match, and that match will go on for, 30, 40, 50 minutes.
But in the meantime, they're still able to play.
I was playing an hour the other day. I got into a really good room. Nobody dropped. Everyone was having fun, and I just played for a straight hour.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
And I don't know if usually Zane's the one to ask this question, but I'm going to ask it because I want to make sure we kind of stick this in before we wrap up here. You guys have been working with the Vive specifically since its early, its early pre-release days. Where do you see VR going in the future? And as far as like hardware is concerned, what are some of the things that you hope come out in the next, year, 2 years from now?
You want me to start, Gabe?
Yeah, go for it.
Bigger room scale. I love room scale. It's my favorite part of VR. Like, I can move around. I can do things. The fact that we're just starting to get these sort of wireless headsets coming out. It's just amazing, man. I mean, yeah, all the hardware and stuff is going to get smaller and better and all these different things, but more room scale. I want to be in a large room, and I want to really interact with the world around me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think what Jeff said too, because
you guys still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
I think Gabe might have had a glitch.
We'll see
Possible.
if he
lost Gabe.
Did his phone run out of battery?
Oh no!
It shows that he's still connected.
Is his home internet sucking?
We'll wait just a second, and if not, we can just stop it probably at, I guess, where you had left off. And
Well,
no problem.
Let's see if we can get him back on real quick.
yeah.
Let me see if he's on.
Should I try ending the call and recalling out?
No, he's smart. He'll get back on.
So what are your plans for? Do you have fun holiday plans coming up, or?
My holiday plans are just freaking relaxed, man. I've been pretty nonstop since about the beginning of November, trying to, just sort of do everything we can to get the game out the door.
Imagine.
I'm gonna take a couple days off, spend some time with the wife and the kids, and just decompress. And play a lot of Smashbox. To be honest, I love it. I have as much fun playing it as everyone else.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. No, for sure. So Gabe just dropped out of the call. I don't know if there's a way for him to.
Oh, looks like he came back.
Okay.
Yay!
He's in.
Hey.
Oh, he's in.
Sorry.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. Sorry. I was like, man, it's got really quiet.
You're like in the middle of a sentence too.
Are you
How
at
long did
home
you
or at
talk
work,
after
dude?
you got
home.
disconnected?
Okay. What did you guys leave off? I can try and pick up.
Well, I had just finished up about how I wanted more room scale VR.
Yeah, it's essentially what you're looking
that's
for in
what-
terms of like future hardware.
Okay. Yeah, I think the two things I'm really excited about is the resolution on the headset, the increasing. Because if you look at it right now, the headset's resolution effective that you can be perceiving is the same as the first version of Doom. So you're talking about 640 by 480
That's
is your
crazy.
perceived resolution. And we're delivering that at 90 hertz per eye. And that's a big reason why Smashbox Arena looks like the way it does, is because it's really easy to make it look good at that resolution, but it's also that playful, fun environment we want. But going forward, like going after more realistic simulations, going after more complicated art styles. And just like Jeff was saying too, is the wireless headsets is going to be crucial, because anything that's going to break your immersion, such as like I've got a cable wrapped around my foot or something like that's going to be really crucial to make sure that's eliminated. And the one thing I'm like super excited about, I just have no idea when it's going to come, but when it does, it's going to be freaking awesome, is losing the controllers and just having hands, just your hands, period, and with perfect tracking within VR regarding your digit position and things of that sort. Because that's like, I remember it's like my favorite quote about user interaction design on the iPhone was like, one of the industrial designers came to Steve Jobs with an iPhone that had a stylus, and he threw it away. And he's like, I've got 5 styluses on this hand right here, on both of them. And so that's what I'm looking forward to for VR, is being able to lose the controller and being able to use your hand. So I'm hoping that will happen in the future.
Oh, I mean, those are let's hope that they take.
No, and I think
sooner rather than
everything
later.
you guys had mentioned were all pretty realistic, realistic hopes. So everything seems to be moving. I mean, hopefully
And very
we'll
quickly,
get a lot
too.
of that stuff soon.
I mean, the thing is, like, why the wires were such an issue. Well, I don't want to say such an issue, but I mean, it was released this year. The Vive was released in April of this year, and I want to say less than a year later, they already have a wireless solution that seems to be 100% or close to 100% effective in terms of what it can do. So, I mean, I'm definitely excited to see. Look, okay, so whatever the next big thing is that they decide to focus on after wireless will be, and hopefully how quickly they can amend that and turn it into a strength rather than a weakness.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fast, but it's following the Vive in general, and VR in the general is following the same pattern that you see from. If you've ever read Innovator's Dilemma, it talks about these disruptive new technologies. They're really expensive. They're hard to set up, but man, they're awesome. And they have a small audience of people that are super passionate about it. And I think we see the same thing happening for games.
Oh, absolutely. Awesome, guys. Well, I definitely want to be respectful of your time. I know we've gone on for quite a bit, but it's been a lot of fun so far. We really do appreciate you guys taking the time to chat.
No, we're happy to talk with you anytime.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having us.
No, of course, anytime, and we'll definitely keep in touch, especially for future updates for the game and anything else you guys might be working on. We'd love to have you guys back to maybe do another highlight episode on what you guys coming down the pipeline later on.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, thanks.
Totally.
Yep. No, appreciate it for everyone tuning in. I really appreciate you guys listening, and we will talk to you again very, very soon.